Welcome to Sport SA Daily Diary. Today we'll be chatting to ex-Springbok captain Warren Whiteley. Good morning, Warren. How are we doing today? I think it's day 15 today of the lockdown. You doing well?
Yes, I'm doing well. I didn't realize it was the 15th day already.
It's bad and it's tough, and I'm sure a lot of people are struggling. But it does seem to be going past quite quickly, which is a positive thing.
I agree. I definitely wasn't counting. I guess it's probably because these two little kids of mine are keeping us busy, 3 and 5 year olds. So we up and about, and I think the last week or so I've lost track of time. And date and day and pretty much everything.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, they must be having great fun having dad at home 24 hours a day.
They are. They're definitely living their best lives. I don't think they know any different. They've got mom and dad at home, so I think they're pretty stoked, eh?
Oh, that's excellent. Warren, what have you guys been doing just to try and keep active a bit?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, it was quite a scramble to get some gym equipment, especially to our players. So, when we heard it was a lockdown, I think we had about 3 days. So it was a bit of a scramble. We kind of did hire some equipment, and we got to our own gym, and every single player managed to get something, which is great. So we in contact with our conditioning coaches, doctors, and biokineticists, and all the players have programs to do every single day, which is quite lekker, and they send videos and motivational clips to each other. So it's quite cool. It's awesome to see how the world has reacted to this, and it's inspiring. Not just us as a professional sports team, but I think everyone has kind of taken up the initiative and just been active at home, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the Instagram and Facebook and all the platforms are just flooded with people doing exercise. Let's hope they all continue this after the lockdown as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So are you on the same sort of training routine as the other players now that you are? Are you now officially player coach, or are you just coach? Or
I'm not sure.
Adam,
no, my focus is definitely on coaching more. So obviously keeping fit and doing as much as I can, but my focus has definitely been predominantly on coaching and learning as much as I can and developing as a coach. And I've really enjoyed it. It has been a tough season, but learned loads and still learning. Just want to be like a sponge and kind of using this time, especially during this lockdown, looking over a lot of footage, looking at our games, but also studying a lot of other footage of other teams, and it's been great. I think everyone is making the best of the situation we're in, and I guess we've got a choice. You can either use it for you or use it against you, and I think I've definitely seen a lot of positives coming out of this time.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's not as if we have a choice in the matter, so it's actually good that people are using it wisely. Warren, you started your career in you grew up in Durbs. You started it with the Sharks, my favorite team, and but very happy that you moved to the Lions and became a Red. Tell us about your early days, maybe your school days growing up. Did you always have ideals of becoming a professional rugby player?
I think I definitely had a dream at the back of my mind, but I wouldn't say, from the outset, I wanted to be a Springbok or international player. I loved sport, had a massive passion for sport, athletics, swimming, baseball, softball, pretty much any sport there was, I did, and absolutely loved it. And I think I also probably didn't believe in myself enough, to be honest. And I was a decent player as a kid growing up, but I don't think I stood out. But I loved it. I had a massive passion for the game of rugby, and I really loved training. I loved running. I loved competing, and I loved the team environment. And I think it just started growing, and the confidence started growing as I started getting older. And I think I was fortunate to have an amazing junior coach as a youngster of about 8 or 9 years old, and he was a great mentor. And then in high school, also was my junior school and high school were very fortunate to have amazing and passionate coaches growing up, which definitely led me to get a lot of opportunities as I got older. But it was definitely not something I would say from the outset. I thought I was going to be a Springbok. I really loved Natal in those days, the Banana Boys. My dad had a Banana Boys t-shirt, and he had all those DVDs of the great Natal teams from the 90s. So I think if anything, I wanted to play for Natal or the Sharks. And, growing up, Henry Honeyball was my absolute hero growing up. I think if it was anything, I was probably wanted to play in the black and white.
Well, we down or up here are all glad that you changed your colours. Warren, you mentioned earlier that you had some influential coaches growing up at the age of 8 or 9. What advice would you give to parents whose kids are showing an interest in rugby at that age, in terms of what's the important bit for them at that age to get into rugby, to possibly have a future in the sport?
Yeah, I would say encourage them to do as many sports as possible. I believe at a young age you should be exposed to many, not just sports, but many different types of activities, whether that's cultural, in sport, academic-wise. I think you should have a wide base or broad base of different activities to develop. I believe that's what makes for a well-rounded sportsman in any field. And I think encouragement is huge. If you see your child has, got a spark for something, try and afford them the opportunities, whatever that is. But encouragement is huge. I think my dad played a massive role in my career as a youngster, and he would always stand about 50 meters away from all the parents shouting and screaming and swearing, and he would just ask me one question afterwards, and he would say, "Did I enjoy it? Did I have fun? Did I give my best?" And that was it. Now having two kids, I think I really appreciated that. And it couldn't have been easy, because I found myself, even with my kids now, if I see them and their little sports activities getting a bit, emotional or worked up. So I'm very appreciative of my dad, and the way he handled that. And he just encouraged me. Pretty much that's what he did, encouraged me and just guided me and gave me opportunities. If I, wanted to go train, he would go to the field and drop me off. Or if I wanted to pass outside, he would say, "Come, let's go pass a ball." Or, so I just think encouragement is huge, and not to push too hard, or, try and live through your kids. I think you've got to allow them to be unique and be individual, because everyone is unique in their own special way. And I don't think you can compare yourself to your children. You've got to allow them to be themselves.
Absolutely. And Warren, you mentioned that Henry Honeyball was your sort of role model hero growing up. Were you always a forward player, or did you ever spend any time in the backs?
Yes, majority of my life, actually. I'm trying to think, how long have I been playing rugby? Since I was 6 years old. So I moved to flank when I was 16 years old. And I played mostly fly half center. I played wing as well, fullback. So at a younger age, I didn't play at the forwards at all. I only played in the back line. And then, at the age of 16, I moved to open side flank. And that was one of, the coach that moved me there was actually one of the most influential coaches in my life, which was Ian Ardendorf. and he moved me to flank. He jokingly said, I just like to chase pretty much everything. And he thought sticking me on open side flank, he would kind of just use me just to run all over the whole field. And so I loved cross country, and I did 800 meters at school, and so I think it just kind of suited me, and I absolutely loved it. I started off at club level. I played for Harlequins on the Bluff. And then, we used to play on Saturday. So I used to play for Dirkie Ace primary school. And then on a Sunday, I would play for Harlequins as well. So played a lot of rugby during the week and absolutely loved it. And then in high school, I think we stopped playing club at about under 16 level. And but that was my last year of club rugby. And he actually moved me to flank. And then at school, my first grade 11 year, I moved to flank, which I really enjoyed.
I mean, it must have been a big adjustment from being out wide or in the backs to all of a sudden being in the middle of the rucks and the mauls, but I'm sure something you thoroughly enjoyed.
Yes, yeah. I mean, he obviously saw something in me, and I think that's, I guess, why the younger coaches in our country play such a huge role within our development of our future stars in this country. Be it doesn't matter what sport it is, our teachers, our coaches play such a massive role, and I was really fortunate to have amazing coaches growing up.
Yeah. And then, Warren, early in your career, you also played a bit of sevens. You played for the Blitzbokke, which must have been a great experience for a youngster. Do you think that experience helped your 15s game as well?
Yes, massively. I think it had a massive impact. Going down there, and Paul True, I think he was in his last year of coaching the sevens, and just being exposed to the professionalism that I was exposed to on the circuit. At that stage, at the Lions, we were behind in terms of professionalism, and heading up to Stellenbosch and staying in the SAS Academy was a huge eye-opener in terms of professionalism. And I think I definitely learned a lot as a player. I remember that my first day I got a book and started writing down all the moves, and Paul would ask me almost every single day about them and almost test me and expose me, if you like, in front of the rest if I didn't know what I was doing. And it was a massive eye-opener for me as a professional sportsman, and I think it played a massive role in my development. It gave me a lot of confidence as well. Growing up, I'd never represented my country, so to put on that jersey was something extremely special for me and my family. And I guess going back to the Lions after that stint, there was a new hunger and desire to represent my country in 15s as well.
Yeah. And Warren, being an ardent Lions fan, I've watched a lot of your rugby. And I think I can comfortably say that a lot of the times when you were out injured, the team really missed you because you had such amazing leadership skills and you were so influential on the team. Where did you pick up that element of your game? Was that something that you learned throughout, or were you always a leader, or did you sort of learn that from someone specifically?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I captained in my last year at Glenwood High School, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I'm a bit of an introvert, and I can be a bit quiet at first if I don't know the people in my surroundings. And I think it's definitely not something I was initially drawn to at a young age. I didn't stand out as a leader at all, and I think I just kind of grew into it. My dad was very influential for me. I mean, he had great people skills growing up, and I would, he was on a lot of committees, school committees, and he just had fantastic people skills. And so did my grandfather on both sides. They were both into politics and politicians, and very good leadership skills. But I think my dad probably had a big influence on me just the way he treated people, mostly the way he spoke to people. I don't know. He just, he had a liking. People enjoyed my father a lot. He was just had a good sense of humor, and regardless of where you came from or what your background was, my dad could connect with you in some sort of way. He was also very good with languages as well, so he could speak Zulu, Afrikaans, and English. And he just had this connection with people, and I think that probably had a big influence in how I treated others. And then, as I grew up, slowly but surely developed my leadership skills.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can comfortably say you're a brilliant captain for the Lions. And it showed in the results, really. You guys got to 3 consecutive Super Rugby finals. Unfortunately, the final hurdle was a bit too much, but it's still an amazing result for such a young group of players. Probably not the best known players at all. I mean, the Lions didn't have the most amount of Springboks at that point, but you really played as an amazing team together and gelled fantastically together through those seasons.
Yeah, it was really, really special. And it's funny that you start talking about it now, because today I was busy. I was busy watching the promotion relegation game against the Kings, funny enough. And yes, I can't tell you the feelings, that kind of got back to me during that game. And it was a difficult situation that we were in. And I think for both teams, we knew that, one team was pretty much going to either make it, or you were going to, never kind of recover in South African rugby again. And if I think about it now, it's such a scary feeling that it came down to those 2 games. And if we didn't manage, I think we only scraped about 2 points in both games. The Kings won the last game, but I think overall it was something like 2 points. I mean, it's nothing. And if I think of what's happened since then, as you mentioned, it's been remarkable, and a lot of people have played huge roles in that success. And I really just see myself as fortunate to be a part of that, and to have played some sort of role in that. But amazing memories and a lot of lessons learned during that time. And I guess now, my dream is one day to be able to pass on those skills, to make more memories with more players and coaches, and create more magic moments like we had, which was really, really special.
To the Lions, I hope, and not the Sharks.
Yes, yes, of course. I mean, that's my dream, So, I mean, I've really enjoyed it. It's been a tough season so far, but I also know that it's part of it. I've been there as well, not winning a game in Super Rugby, and being relegated and promoted, and then starting off in 2014, only winning, I think, 8 or 9 games, and then kind of slowly but surely in our 3rd season, then, getting on a roll. So I know it takes time and patience. So I'm looking forward to it.
And you managed your dream. You ended up playing for the Springboks, but even more than that, you captained the Springboks. If you had to look back at your career, what's been probably the standout moment for you? Is it your first cap? Is it the first time you captained? Is there something in specific?
Sure. Wow, there's, I mean, that was definitely probably one of the most, special moments in my life, especially if I think back to that week. My son was born on the Tuesday, and we played our first test match against France that Saturday. So it was a roller coaster week, extremely special week, and we beat France at Loftus. So just amazing, and the sport has, I mentioned roller coaster, and that's what it's been, particularly in my career. It's just been ups and downs, and I've really appreciated that, and I think I've learned a lot of lessons. When I say that, I mean I captained the Boks. I think 3 weeks after that or 4 weeks after that, I was injured and I was out for about 7 months. really, really struggling with a groin injury, and that's the ups and downs you go through, in this industry. And I think it's definitely made me more resilient and tough through these difficult times. And I wasn't great as a youngster going, working through difficult times, whether I was dropped or whether I was injured. And I think over the last couple of years, I've really learned how to get through these difficult or tough situations.
Yeah, I think it certainly makes you stronger. Again, if you had to give a word of advice to a young player, coming through high school or whatever, or just finishing and making a career, and they do get a bad injury, what advice would you give them to keep their head up and keep going and, look to the future as opposed to what's happening there and then?
I would say the biggest piece of advice that helped me is probably the saying that goes, everything that happens to me happens for me. And it's something I really started holding on to. And when I got dropped or got injured, I really saw it as a challenge. I really saw it as a time that I could develop different skills, that I could grow, that I could harness and grow in different ways. And as soon as I started looking at it, as an advantage, and I could use it to my advantage, it really helped, and it made a huge difference in my mental attitude towards that period. And I saw amazing things come out of that. And they always talk about connecting the dots, and you struggle to connect those dots looking forward when you're in that situation, whether you've been injured or whether you've been dropped. But a couple months down the line, you really start connecting the dots, and you see the great things that has actually come out of that period that wouldn't have come out of it. So I think attitude and how you look at things and perceive things to be is massive in professional sport or in life in general. You can turn anything into a negative if you want to. So to be optimistic is something I really hold on to now, and I've really learned to always see the good in situations.
Yeah, I mean, that advice it's brilliant advice, and essentially it could be used for what we're going through now.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah. So I think, and it's amazing to see. I mean, we're fortunate to have access to Facebook and Instagram, and you see these people inspiring everyone, which is really, really fortunate, that we get to see these inspirational videos. So it's been inspiring to see what people have been doing, and it's amazing.
Oh, brilliant. Warren, thanks so much for joining us today on Sport SA Daily Diary. It's been great chatting and getting to know you a bit and hearing about your career and your past. Good luck with coaching of the Lions, and let's hope you can take it one further and lift the Super Rugby title for it.
Cheers, Adam. Yeah, that's definitely the dream and the goal. And, I believe that just got to keep working and developing and enjoying it. I really love it. And, I think I'm excited for what the future holds. But cheers, I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Brilliant. Thanks, Warren. Great to chat.
Cheers, Adam. Have a lucky day. Cheers, Abe. Bye.
Catch us again tomorrow in Sport SA Daily Diary. We will be chatting to South Africa's top female endurance racer, Kirsten Landman.